Hey everyone, I'm Rod and Todd, a professional YouTuber who makes professional videos. And it's Tuesday, which means it's time for another Transformers review, so here we go. This is WFC-S35 Red Alert. It was released in the deluxe size class as part of Wave 3 of the War for Cybertron Siege Toilet. As always, we'll start with the alternate mode. Red Alert transforms into a fire chief's car. This is not a police car, as evident by the light bar. And you may think it's a police car, but it's not. Red Alert has always turned into a fire chief car. And if this vehicle mode looks familiar to you, that's because this is a pretty much straight reuse of the mold that was first used for Sideswipe. I won't be bringing Sideswipe down to compare, but basically Sideswipe is this in red without the light bar. This actually works. This isn't a lazy retool in my opinion, although some people could see it as that, because Red Alert has always shared the same base mold as Sideswipe, so it makes sense. I actually do like the colors a lot more in this than I do on Sideswipe. There's a lot more color interest. Sideswipe is mostly just flat red, a bit of black here and there. Really the only big color interest is the transformed windshield, I guess you could say. But this guy is basically, it's like glossy white. You can kind of see it reflecting a bit. You can see the flat black, or not, it's not flat black, but the shiny black windshield really reflecting off the lights here. And on the front, it's got this red stripe with the Autobot symbol inside like this badge thing, and then two Cybertronian letters, which translate to F and D for Fire Department. Got some nice red stripes here on the sides. 4 free rolling wheels, so Red Alert can roll out to fight the Decepticons. Really the only major difference in sculpting between this and Sideswipe is the light bar. The light bar is removable. It basically just plugs into the top of Sideswipe's, or not Sideswipe, but it plugs into the top of the vehicle mode. There's a hole right there. That's a carryover from Sideswipe. However, I will not be removing it for reasons we'll get to when I cover the robot mode. He has 3 different holes for you to mount the gun in his vehicle mode. There's one on the top, which is occupied by the light bar. And then one on this side, we can attach the gun here. And then one on the other side, so you can mount the gun there. Personally, I kind of don't like that the gun sticks out to the side. I'm fine with this gun, because it's smaller. But if it's like a larger gun, it looks kind of stupid. So, yeah. I'd say if you want to have your Red Alert in vehicle mode, just put the gun off to the side and leave it somewhere. It's a decent enough vehicle mode. It's basically just the same space Lamborghini as Sideswipe had, but with a lot better colors and a light bar. So, yeah. That's pretty much all I have to say about the vehicle mode, so let's just move on to the packaging. And here is the box. It's the standard Siege Deluxe class box. As you can see, there's the Siege logo on the front, Transformers logo there. On the inside of the back, on the back of the inside of the packaging, you can see the big rank insignia there, which is mirrored right there. If you turn it around, you can see there's Red Alerts right there. Turn it around to the side, there's the standard Siege mural, which is on the side of every Siege box. I won't be covering this in depth, so you can pause it and take a look at it yourself, or if you want to actually see me go over it, you can take a look at my Sideswipe review where I actually, took a look at this. Moving on to the back, we have 3D renders of the toy. As always, these are most likely based off of the prototype of the figure, because there are a few major differences. For one, the head. The head of the robot mode is depicted here as being the exact same as Sideswipe's, which when we'll get to the robot mode, you will find out is actually not the case. You can see him here holding his axe, and it transforms from vehicle mode to robot mode in 17 steps. And here's another discrepancy between the actual toy and the vehicle mode and the back of the box renders here. The vehicle mode here on the back shows it with like a transparent windshield, and the toy, the final toy, has like a glossy black. It's opaque, you can't see through it. There's also a cross-sell for the Battlemaster figures Caliburst and Smashdown. I've already covered both of them previously. And here is Red Alert holding Smashdown. I'll be pairing them up later on in the video. And then we get to my favorite part of these boxes, the individual package art, which is unique to each box. As you can see here, there's Red Alert. He has his axe. He's like raising it. Maybe he's about to like swing it or something. And it's cool that they didn't just take Sideswipe's package art and just recolor it, even though, yet again, Red Alert has the same head as Sideswipe, which the toy does not have. So I think it's pretty obvious they weren't going to give him a different head until the last minute, to the point where the package art and his renders on the back were already made. Something cool about the axe is the blades are kind of glowing, almost like it's that 1,000-degree glowing red-hot knife thing, but like an axe blade. Of course, that could just be the lights in the light bar, but I don't know, that's just a nice little detail. Here's the top, the Autobot logo, and the War for Cybertron Trilogy logo, and then the stuff on the bottom if you really care about that. So, that's the box. It's a pretty standard box. I don't know. And yeah, so with that out of the way, let's move on to the robot mode. And here is Red Alert in his robot mode. Red Alert's kind of an obscure-ish character, so I think we should begin this segment by kind of letting those of you who don't know who this guy is, I'm going to tell you who he is. So Red Alert has kind of gone through a few different character types. He started out as the Autobot security officer. Basically, he was like the head of security for the Autobots, and he would make sure there were like no Decepticon spies or whatever. However, the joke was that he was paranoid. He was super paranoid. He was always afraid someone was out to get him. And that was kind of his whole thing. He didn't really do much in the original 80s cartoon. But for those of you who have seen the Netflix cartoon, you may have been wondering, wait, this guy's the Autobot's medic in that Netflix cartoon, but you said he's a security officer. Well, that's actually because in the early 2000s, they had lost the trademark to the name Ratchet, and they needed somebody to replace him as the Autobot's kind of main medic. And so Red Alert became the Autobot's replacement version of Ratchet. Kind of like how they lost the name Bumblebee in that same kind of time frame, and he was replaced with Hotshot for like 5 or so years. And so what I'm assuming is that someone basically saw this toy and they only knew about Transformers Armada, and they're like, oh, he's the Autobot's medic. When they wrote the show, they hadn't seen the original Generation 1 cartoon. So Red Alert, in my opinion, he's the security guy, but if you want to treat him as your medic, you can go ahead and do that if you don't have Ratchet or whatever. But he's a security officer to me, and always will be. So that's Red Alert out of the way, the paranoid security officer. So let's take a look at the articulation. He has standard articulation for a Siege Deluxe figure. He has a ball joint at the head, so you move his head left and right, and also up and down. Universal joint at the shoulder, so you move his arm out and all the way around. Bend at the elbow, swivel at the elbow. He does not have a wrist swivel. Waist swivel. Universal joint at the hip, so you can move his leg out, forward, and back. Bend at the knee, swivel at the thigh, and sideways articulation at the ankles. In terms of accessories, he has 2 accessories. The first one being his gun. It's this black gun. The instructions call it the RT-10 Particle Beam Circuit Welder, As with pretty much every weapon name, except for like a few in this line, it basically means nothing. You can just pretend it's just a generic laser gun. I actually really like this gun. I think it looks pretty cool. I honestly would have preferred it if they used this gun as the design for the generic Autobot gun in the Netflix cartoon instead of the ones that came with COG. But that's just my opinion. You can fit it in his hand, and he just has the gun. And you can attach the effect pieces that come with the Battle Masters and the one from Blowpipe here, and make it look like it's shooting. Bang. His other accessory is his light bar. I have it in his back for reasons I'm about to explain right now. See, you don't just have the ability to have him hold this as a gun. I showed you the axe earlier. You might be wondering where that is. Well, the axe is actually the combined form from the light bar and the gun. See, the barrel of the gun is the same size as the little handle down here, so that means you can fit it in his hand. And then you're supposed to be able to remove the light bar from his back and attach it to this hole in the side, and it's supposed to be an axe, basically. And I'm not going to be showing that off, because this light bar is made out of transparent plastic, which if you know anything about different plastic types, you'll know that transparent plastic is extremely brittle. It breaks very easily, especially if it's a hinge, or if it's like used in a hinge joint or whatever. And so, one day, when I attempted to remove the light bar from the gun, the peg just popped clean off. I was able to get it out of the gun, and then glued the peg and the light bar back together, and then put it back in the gun, and when I attempted to remove it, it popped off again. So after super gluing it together a second time, I basically elected to just leave it in his back and never touch it again. So I won't be showing off the axe mode because I don't want to break the light bar. But if you want to know what it looks like for yourself, just look up pictures or whatever. I mentioned Red Alert's head is different than Sideswipe's. The original Sideswipe release had these like horn things sticking out of the top. As you can see, Red Alert has these two little nubs because they gave him a slightly different head in the original cartoon from the 80s, and so that's what they were going with here. I kind of prefer this instead of just reusing the head from Sideswipe, because that means it's not totally just a reuse of Sideswipe. It's got a bit of its own personality, and he has a different gun. Even though I think it would have been cool if it came with Sideswipe's rocket launcher. You still can fit Sideswipe's rocket launcher in the shoulder pegs there. Those are still there. He has holes all over his body, as with pretty much every figure in this line, that you can use to mount his gun in weird and wacky ways. His hands, of course, and then two on either arm, one on the shoulder, and one more like on the forearm area here. It's the same on either arm, one on either leg. And then there would be one in the back, however that's where the light bar is, and of course I'm not going to take that out. And then there's also two in the bottom of his feet, so that if you want to mount COG's platform shoes or any of the other weaponizer components down there, you can do that. Of course, you don't just have to use his gun, you can use him with any siege weapon, including various Battle Masters like Smashdown. And if you want to give Red Alert his axe back, you can just take Taraxodon. I don't have Taraxodon down to do that, but whatever. There he is with Smashdown. And he also has little pegs on his body, as with every deluxe and up figure in Siege, where you can mount these little effect pieces on his body. I kind of like to use these because they look like explosions. I didn't bring down Taraxodon's one that I normally use because, well, I got down Smashdown. He comes with one of these. Might as well. So, he's got one on his chest. It looks like he just got hit with something. One on his arm, while he can't really fit it there because it's not enough space. This is too big. So if you want, you can just take one of the blowpipes. Although that too doesn't stay on very well. These pegs are kind of shallow. It's kind of hard to fit anything on there. And I think that's really it in terms of the little pegs of his arms. So that's really all I have to say about Red Alert. He's a good figure. Basically everything positive I have to say about Sideswipe carries over here. I don't like the easily breakable light bar. That in and of itself makes this figure not as good as Sideswipe in my opinion. Everything else is better than Sideswipe though. Better accessories, it actually gives him a handheld gun. Better colors instead of it just being all red. Overall just good stuff. The problem is that light bar. So if you get this figure, take extreme caution with this. I would not recommend using it in the axe configuration unless you're really careful. And yeah, it's really all I have to say. So that's Siege Red Alert. Yeah, so I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, like, subscribe, all that stuff. I mean, you don't have to, but that would be cool if you did. And yeah, so tune in next week as we review the Autobot Triple Changer Springer. And this has been Ron Todd signing off.